Hey, folks. So, attempt number two, because I didn't really quite know what I was doing. Go figure. Woohoo! I am starting to do YouTube videos now. Some of you might know my YouTube channel because I mirror the podcast, the Tenkar podcast, onto the YouTube channel. But this is going to be a series of videos which I'm going to be calling Games from the Basement. Now, it was a feature I used to have on the blog, and it's visual. I think it works better as a video type of format. So that's why we're doing the YouTube. And I think I'm going to do the interviews when it comes to things like, I don't know, Fireside Chat. I got Vince Florio coming up this weekend on Sunday. We're going to use this format. I think it's going to be a little bit easier and visual. So why not? So, folks, we have Starships and Spacemen for today. It is, dare I say it, heavily influenced by Star Trek. That's probably the politest way to say it. It is definitely, it's more than a homage. It is an effective rip on Star Trek, but that's okay because it's Starships and Spacemen. Back in the time when this came out in 78, I think we had Traveler. And I had Traveler, and I ran Traveler. I ran a campaign with Traveler. My thing with Traveler is that there was no XP, right? Whoever you started with, you were. You gained power, you gained influence maybe, but you didn't really gain abilities. Whatever scores you started out with, whatever skills you had, is what you had. Well, Starships and Spacemen, which I'm going to show you. I got to figure out this whole left and right shit, so please bear with me, folks. It's not so easy, yes? It's not so easy. This is heavily influenced by D&D. It's stats on the 3d6. It's a d20 for your to-hit roll. It even has XP and XP charts. And I'm going to just, all right, hold it up over here. That looks like it's kind of covering it. There we go. So, and by the way, just so you know, everybody in Starships and Spacemen, at least all the player characters, are officers. You got to be an officer in order to be a spaceman in this case. I never played it. And why did I never play it? Well, Traveler had a voice. It had a soul of its own, right? It was space opera, but it certainly had this desire. I used to roll characters with Traveler, right? I used to cut class in high school and used to roll Traveler characters with my friend Andrew D. And we would see how many we get killed in the course of 45 minutes for the class we were cutting. Starships and Spacemen is bland. It is, dare I say it? It's like watching Star Trek, the motion picture. It just doesn't carry the torch very well, which is a shame. However, I did find out by looking at this, it's like, oh, Fantasy Games Unlimited, Roslyn, New York. I didn't even realize that they were, back at the time, that close to me. I live out in Elmhurst. Of course, I was about, 11 years old when this got published, so I guess not. See, now here's the problem with Facebook. I don't get to see who's actually, dropping a comment, but Que pasa? I am doing well. 2 thumbs up. What I will say is that Fantasy Games Unlimited, it had games that had interesting concepts. They had Bushido. Bushido is another Fantasy Games Unlimited release that I have. I have the box set in that case. It's another game I never played, and it's a game that I never bought. And I didn't steal it, but back in our days, I don't know why we were looking for additional players in the group, maybe because we dropped down to a low number of 4 or 5, but we put up an index card on the bulletin board at the Complete Strategist in Manhattan. Many of you have heard about the Complete. And looking for players, and we got a player who wanted to play, and he came out. We met my other friend Andrew's house, Andrew B. And Oh, they did have a lot of excellent titles, and V&V was certainly one of them. Aftermath is another thing I'm going to point out in a second, by the way, Wild Die. But Bushido was handed to me. This guy walks into the house. We talk for about 15 minutes, and he opens up his book bag, and he hands me a box copy of Bushido and says, "I'd like to play this. Can you learn the rules?" No. I never actually learned. He never came back into that either. So I got a copy of Bushido. It's either in the basement or in the closet. I'll probably have another short cast about it at some point. But Aftermath is an Aftermath and the Morrow Project were both loaned to me by a friend of mine. We lost on 9/11. So I should learn how to run them because he wanted to play a post-apocalyptic game. And no, never happened. Actually, in the case of, I think, the Morrow Project, didn't they have like the not stencils, but the overlays? So where your shot went, and then you see how far you were off from it. Way too much. V&V, I played. Villains and Vigilantes, I played, but it wasn't going off this. The problem with a lot of the FGU games were that you had to learn a new system for pretty much all of them. V&V was self-contained, and I think Jeff D did a great job with it. Your random powers. I wasn't much of a supers player when I was a kid. Probably not much of one now, even though I was a big, huge comic book fan. But V&V's random powers led to wishy-washy characters. Some that were overpowered, some that were underpowered. I didn't like playing Marvel Supers because somebody always had to play Hawkeye or some crap like that. Well, somebody else is playing Iron Man. You know, supers are just a hard genre to balance out between the powered heroes and the skilled heroes, and it isn't like a game like, I don't know, D&D, Traveler, RuneQuest, where all these characters are, generally speaking, at the same type of position in their gameplay. They work around the same power level. It doesn't carry over to, the super genre, and that, I think, is a problem. So, but yeah, look at that. I was going to talk about Starships and Spacemen, and of course, talk about everything else. But bad. But Starships and Spacemen has really striking art. I mean, I am a piss poor artist, and I think I could at least get a little bit more balanced than that. But it's a sign of the times, right? It was done in 1978, and these were people that were probably high school and college students for the most part putting the stuff together. And for that, it's actually a well-printed book. It's for the time. It's not like the early Tunnels and Trolls that were printed on copiers at college and then stapled along to the binding, such as it were. And that's another thing. I'll have to bring up my Tunnels and Trolls 2E one day, show you Ken St. Andre's personal copy. I do have a decent gaming collection. It is not the Bill Webb or Bill Meinhardt level of gaming collections, but I got a few decent pieces. So, listen, if you can, subscribe to the channel on YouTube, youtube.com/Eric Tenkar. I'm going to be doing these live streams. I'm going to try to get a regular schedule for the live streams, just so people know when to expect them. There are people I like whose live streams pop up and they're not at regular times, and it's like, so I'd like to get a regular schedule going. And I'll be doing interviews. I've got Vince Florio this weekend, Sunday. We'll figure out a time for it. We are going to do an interview, stream it on YouTube, stream it on Facebook, and then put it up later on the podcast side. So, yes, this is going to facilitate Tavern Chat, and some of the Tavern Chat will be live. Yes, they did do a, was it 2012 or 2013? I have a copy of it. And it's certainly cleaned up, and I think it has more soul. Uh, Goblinoid Games did a second edition of Starships and Spacemen. Actually, also, I think they reprinted the original edition when they got the rights to it. And I got to say that Goblinoid Games has gotten the rights to a number of systems that I hold near and dear from that time period. Time Master, cheesy concept, but fun game to play. I had a great time running that. Sandman, we used to use the same system. Chill used that system before it went on to Mayfair. I think it's kind of kept that same system. Was it Star Ace or Space Ace? That was a real cheesy science fiction that I just had to take to the side and played it once, and by the rules, the starship blew up. Yeah, okay, thank you. Star Race was science fiction. When I had a player, their ship blew up, but they happened to survive. They were floating in space, and I was like, yeah. And not that I ran a lot of Traveler, and not that I think Traveler was made for cinematic spaceship combat or even cinematic play. Star Wars D6, they handled that so much better. But Traveler had its gameplay. Star Race was, but again, this is the same era that like Star Frontiers came out, and I know people love Star Frontiers. I thought it was cheesy even for the time, but you bought anything, right? If you had the money, it was a role playing game, and hey, if it was a role playing game and included dice in the box, that was a bonus. Yeah, Wild Die. We played all. I ran all the pace setter stuff. I still remember with Sandman, and that's gonna have to be its own episode with the treasure finding on the Sandman game. Remember that? You're gonna find we got, what was it, $10,000 prize at the end of the rainbow. Yeah, it didn't happen. And pace setter was pretty much ex-TSR folks. And I'm going to have to bring out the old Paranoia one day, first edition Paranoia. I have a letter from Ken Ralston when I didn't get my dice in that box. Because again, dice mattered back then. And play tested for them too. That was fun. All right, folks. Thank you so much. Really do appreciate the live audience. I will try to get a regular schedule for this. Some of this will go up on the podcast. This will not. Some of them are actually going to be, I'm going to try to do at least twice a week, record the podcast here so I can get live feedback on the discussion like we're getting today. And it will definitely influence the way it goes. Because listen, I don't do scripts. I don't sit down with a bullet point of what I got to talk about. I pretty much do a hex crawl when I do these podcasts and vidcasts. So that's what you're in for. All right, folks. Thank you very much. Laters.